Go through. I'm going to kind of make my acknowledgments as I go through the talk. Anyway, so like I said, I found lots of cool stuff, but I think this is probably one of the biggest finds I've ever made in my life. Pretty exciting. First of all, I'm giving you a little sneak peek at next year's National Fossil Day logo. And what's really cool, it's got these little critters in it called Tricheilodonts. And that's going to be one of the main points of my talk. So just for an introduction, I'm going to run you through the Glen Canyon group, which is late Triassic to early Jurassic rocks, and also tie in Zion National Park. So, of course, being a Zion National Park, they wanted me to speak about the fossils here, so it's kind of expanded the story. Before you know it, I was up to 105 slides, so be patient, please. Okay, so I'm going to also give a brief history on the paleontology of Glen Canyon, following that. And then our work with the Park Service, especially in what's called the Kayenta-Navajo transition, which I'll explain. I'll also talk about the main thing, which are our big discoveries, which is the John Wesley Powell fossil track block. That was actually found years ago. And the paper just published yesterday, so look for that. It's open access, full color. It's a really nice journal, Geology of the Intermountain West. Then I'll talk about our discoveries in March and April, these Tricheilodont bone beds in Glen Canyon National Recreation Area, where I've been working since 2010. Then I'll tell you a little bit about Tricheilodonts and what we found and what's associated, what kind of tracks are associated with the bone bed. So let's get going. So first of all, geologic time. The planet, 4.6 billion years old. We're going to be talking about rocks in this age. So around 200 million years. So 205 to 108. I'm going to go very briefly through the earlier stuff, especially through the Triassic-Jurassic boundary. So one of the fifth largest mass extinctions on the planet, the fifth largest mass extinction actually occurred at the Triassic-Jurassic boundary, and it affected the terrestrial animals. So here's a little bit of closer, the time. You can see these little structures here, which are called golden spikes, which are placed in specific geologic locations around the planet that mark specific periods of geologic time that are distinct for those periods of time. So this is a map of the Glen Canyon group. So the Glen Canyon group, from oldest to youngest in southwestern Utah, where we are, you've got the Chinle Formation, and on top of that, which is not part of the Glen Canyon, so that underlies the Glen Canyon. You've got the Mojave Formation, the Kayenta Formation, and the Navajo Sandstone. As you move further to the west, to the east, the Navajo Sandstone transitions into what's called the Wingate Sandstone, which is another large sand sea, very much like the beautiful cliffs of Zion that surround us here. Also to the north, so kind of up in these areas here, this is all called the Nugget Sandstone, which is potentially equivalent to the major Glen Canyon group outcrops further to the south. And towards the west, as you move into Arizona and to California, you've got the Aztec Sandstone, which lithologically, so the way the rock is composed, it's slightly different from the Navajo, so they've given it a different name. What's going on? Yeah, the thingy's stopped. It's not working. Sorry about that. All right, so like I mentioned, the rock formations continuing along this kind of hard to wing it without showing you all these cool pictures. Anyway, how many of you have been to the St. George Dinosaur Discovery Center? Awesome. Looks like more people need to go. It's a super cool place. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. So it's right after this mass extinction at the end of the Triassic. And so you're seeing what life is like right after this mass extinction. And the building is constructed over an in-place dinosaur track site. The in-place track site, we've mapped over 1,200 footprints in place. Also at the site, we've discovered thousands of dinosaur swim tracks, and swim tracks are extremely rare in the fossil record. I won't be talking about them in this presentation, apart from right now, because I'm moving right along. Okay. Anyway, come visit. It's a pretty cool place. Okay, so this is for a publication that I'm doing with Martin Lockley and Jim Farlow called Eubrontes Out West. It's for a book chapter called Dinosaur State Park is the name of the book, which is basically an equivalent age track site in the Newark Supergroup in Connecticut, so out east. So here we are. This is the southwestern Utah. You can see all of these multiple track sites. Now these all represent Eubrontes localities, and so here you can see the Monavi Formation, Dinosaur Canyon, Whitmore Point, Springdale Sandstone, which you can see in the cliffs here, the silty facies of the Kayenta, and then over 700 to 750 meters of Navajo sandstone capped by Middle Jurassic rocks in the southwest. And you can see as you move into this area right here, you transition into the Wingate Sandstone in these regions. When you get over to Lake Powell, you only have the Wingate, so the Monavi does not occur there. The Kayenta Formation is extremely thin. We're going to be spending most of our time looking in this area right here for most of this talk. After I get through this part, so a lot of the Glen Canyon group, as you're driving around Utah, you'll see all of these beautiful red rocks over most of Utah, and of course most of the national parks. Well, a lot of the national parks in Utah are thanks to the beautiful rocks of the Glen Canyon group, which I love because they're absolutely loaded with really cool fossils too. Here's a recent trip a couple of weeks ago. There's Robin with a beautiful landscape in the back of Zion. So I appreciate Robin for inviting me here to give a presentation. And all the work that we've done together. We actually started working on stuff together in Wapuktu National Monument in Arizona on early Triassic tracks, and now we're moving it to Zion, which is great. And of course, Glen Canyon here on the right. So the golden spike for the Triassic-Jurassic boundary is around 201.3 million years old. And its place, originally, the Triassic-Jurassic extinction boundary was based on the extinction of terrestrial tetrapods, so four-legged vertebrates. We've discovered, though, over time, with so much research, that the marine extinction, which is based on the disappearance of these guys, and the conodonts, certain species of conodonts, and the extinction of a few species of ammonites, and then the appearance of new kinds of ammonites, marks the Triassic-Jurassic extinction boundary of the marine rock record, but it does not correlate with the terrestrial record. So originally, like I said, it was based on terrestrial animals. And one of the main reasons was probably rifting about around 200, just over 200 million years ago. You're getting rifting between North America, Northern Europe, and Africa. So they're starting to split apart, very much like you see in the rift valleys of Africa today. And because of all this volcanic activity, the Central Atlantic Magmatic Province, also known as CAMP, all this volcanic activity probably resulted in lots of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. You see this yellow dot here? This is roughly where we are, which is about 20 degrees north latitude, so when most of these rocks were deposited in this region. So this is a likely cause for this extinction. So the terrestrial animals, this is a really old figure. I got to get something much better one of these days when I have spare time. In the late Triassic, we lose these large amphibians called metoposaurs, large dicenodont synapsids called like Placerius, the Rawasuchians, phytosaurs like this animal right here. This is found in southeastern Utah, this particular specimen. Eatosaurs, Herrerasaurs, dinosaurs disappear. And then you get all these other groups like mammals and pterosaurs, small plant-eating dinosaurs, turtles. Now we can include frogs and things like this that actually lived in the Triassic, and they survived this extinction. So this transition, we see a great change in the fauna, and this is where dinosaurs begin to diversify and rule the planet around 201 million years ago. So we also see this preserved in the footprints. So here you can see, this is kind of